welcome to this explainer. I am super excited about today's topic because we're doing a classic engineering teardown and reassembly. We're going to look at exactly how a digital display controller is built literally from scratch using the Xilinx ISC 14.2 environment. You know, if you've ever wondered how abstract lines of code actually turn into those glowing numbers you see every day, well, we're going to trace that exact translation from pure logic all the way down to physical hardware.
Think for a second about the screen on your microwave, or, that digital alarm clock sitting right there on your nightstand. How do those devices actually display numbers? If you've got 4 digits and each digit has 7 of those little light-up segments, wiring every single one of those independently to a tiny microchip, well, that would take dozens and dozens of individual wires. It'd be a totally messy, inefficient nightmare. But, spoiler alert, they don't do that. Instead, there's this incredible, high-speed, invisible illusion powering those screens. And today, we're going to expose exactly how it works.
So here's our roadmap. We'll start with the display hardware challenge, then decode 7-segment theory, break down the modules, and actually code the Verilog logic. After that, we'll hit simulation and verification, and finally look at the final RTL schematics. Okay, let's dive into this.
Section 1, the Display Hardware Challenge. Let's look at how we connect multiple digit displays efficiently.
So, the specific challenge we're tackling today actually comes directly from a classic engineering lab known as Experiment 5. The mission is to design a display controller. And hey, this isn't just about making some lights blink on and off. It's a really complex task that requires deep hardware and software integration. Embedded systems, whether it's a custom digital clock or even the tech inside your smartphone, they all have incredibly strict constraints on power, space, and processing. To pull this off, we're using Verilog Hardware Description Language, or HDL, to cleanly route data to a screen without totally overloading the system's physical pins.
Section 2, Decoding 7-Segment Theory. Before we even touch a line of code, we need to understand the hardware.
The specific displays we're working with here use a common anode configuration. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, a single digit is made up of 7 distinct LED segments. In a common anode display, all 7 of those segments share one single positive connection. That's the anode. So the absolute crucial rule here for our code later on is this. To illuminate a specific segment, the shared anode has to receive a high logic level, meaning a binary 1. At the exact same time, the specific cathode for the segment you actually want to light up must receive a low logic level, a binary 0. It's exactly this push and pull of high and low logic that literally turns the lights on.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we manage all those lights without creating a massive tangled nest of wires. Over on the input side, we've got 4-bit values for the ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands places. But look closely. They don't just go straight to the screen. They feed into a digital controller module. This whole architecture relies on a select controller and an anode control to pull off a technique called multiplexing. Instead of turning all 4 digits on at the exact same time, the controller turns on just the thousands digit, then just the hundreds, then the tens, then the ones. And it cycles through them so unbelievably fast that the human eye is tricked into thinking they're all on simultaneously. It is just a brilliant hardware illusion.
Section 3, Breaking down the modules. Let's open up those black boxes from the diagram and look at the math inside. Let's check out the anode controller first. Its entire job in life is to activate just one specific digit on the display at a time. And it does this by outputting a super precise 4-bit binary value. Look at this pattern. 0001 activates the ones, 0010 for the tens, 0100 gets the hundreds, and 1000 is for the thousands. So that binary 1 essentially sweeps across the code. It acts almost like a spotlight, deciding exactly which digit gets to shine at any given millisecond.
But you might be wondering, how does the anode controller know when to move that spotlight? Well, that is where the select control steps in. This is essentially a simple 2-bit counter. It just rapidly steps through 4 states, 00, 01, 10, and 11. These select codes act as the master metronome for the entire system. So when the select code is 00, the system knows, hey, grab the data for the ones digit and light up the ones anode. Then it takes over to 01 and everything shifts to the tens. Makes perfect sense, right?
Section 4, Coding the Verilog logic. Now we jump over to the software side to translate those truth tables directly into Verilog.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that this is the exact moment our theory becomes code. If we want to display the number 0, we need specific LED segments to be on and 1 to be off. This maps beautifully to the binary-coded decimal, or BCD converter, that we write in Verilog. A data input of pure 0 triggers a case statement that spits out an 8-bit signal. Those 8 bits directly tell the physical screen which LED segments to power up and which to leave off just to draw a 0. For instance, the number 0 becomes 8B000011. It's literally a perfect one-to-one translation.
Let's breeze through the rest of the code to see how this builds our complete system. The select controller is coded to increment its 2-bit counter every single time it detects a positive edge from the system clock. Then the digit controller acts kind of like a traffic cop. It routes the correct 4-bit numerical data based purely on whatever that 2-bit select signal happens to be. Our anode controller uses a simple case statement to decode that same select signal into the physical anode spotlight we talked about a minute ago. And finally, the top module wraps the whole shebang together. It instantiates all these smaller submodules and effectively solders them together with virtual wires. It's the digital glue that creates our unified display controller.
Section 5, Simulation and Verification. This is the really exciting part where we prove our Verilog code actually works using a test bench.
To actually prove it works without building the physical circuit just yet, we write what's called a test bench to run in the ISIM simulator. Think of it as a script that fakes the hardware environment. Step 1, we initialize all our inputs to 0. Step 2 is absolutely vital. We tell the simulation to wait exactly 100 nanoseconds. This gives the system's global reset time to finish, which stops any weird, unpredictable behavior. Step 3, we add our stimulus, which just means feeding the controller sequential numbers to display like 1, 2, 3, 4. And finally, step 4, we simulate a hardware clock, commanding it to toggle its state every 20 nanoseconds. That provides the heartbeat driving our entire multiplexing process.
Section 6, the final RTL schematics. It is time for the final unboxing, turning our software logic into actual simulated hardware components.
I mean, I have to geek out for a second. It is just incredible to look at these simulation waveforms. Look at how perfectly synced everything is right here. Whenever the system clock pulses, you can literally see the select controller tick forward. And in perfect absolute unison, the digit controller routes the correct data payload while the anode control lights up the correct physical location. There are no dropped frames, no colliding data. Our test bench completely verifies that this multiplexing illusion works absolutely flawlessly.
So the crucial point is right here. We passed our code through the XST synthesis tool. It took all of our simple, human-readable Verilog text and automatically, mathematically synthesized it into this, a full gate-level netlist and RTL schematic. Look at it. It's this beautiful, unbelievably complex web of physical logic gates and wiring pathways. Our software has quite literally been translated into a blueprint for a physical microchip.
Which leaves us with this final thought. We just spent this entire explainer tearing down and rebuilding the architecture required simply to illuminate 4 tiny numbers on a basic digital clock. Every single time you glance at a microwave, millions of invisible logic gates are pulsing perfectly in sync. So, now that you've seen the hidden, intricate logic behind a simple 4-digit display, how intensely complex do you think the hardware controller is for the high-definition screen you are watching me on right now? It really makes you appreciate the invisible magic of the modern world, doesn't it? Thanks so much for learning with me today.